Alright, guys, let's talk about the Mission Impossible franchise. Over the past week, I have been watching and rewatching every single movie in the Mission Impossible franchise. And coming from someone who just started watching the franchise last year, I am just absolutely obsessed right now, and it seems to be like I'm making up for all the lost time. So, with all these movies very fresh in my mind, I feel like now is the best time to do some rankings. So with this video, I won't just be ranking the movies, but also my favorite side characters, basically anyone who's a good guy that's not Ethan Hunt, my favorite action sequences, my favorite villains, and my favorite mask reveal moments. The Mission Impossible franchise is just so truly iconic, and now I fully understand the iconicity of it. So I'm so very excited to talk about all this. Let's start with ranking the movies. Before we dive in, obviously, spoiler warning. I just saw Final Reckoning this past weekend, so I'm going to be talking about that in detail and all the rest of the Mission Impossible movies as well. So, spoiler warning out the bat. And another quick note before I get into my ranking of the movies is that one thing that is so awesome about this Mission Impossible franchise is that everyone seems to have their own rankings of these movies. Like there are some universally agreed on spots for these rankings, but anything from like spot 6 to spot 2 or spot 1 could honestly be different depending on who you're asking, which is just so awesome. It's something I love about this franchise. So without any further ado, let's get into this ranking. And obviously, y'all saw this coming. And last place, I have Mission Impossible 2. Now, I gave this movie a try, but I literally turned it off like an hour in. It somehow feels more dated than the first one. And a lot of people say it's like a very sexual one, like very overly sexual one compared to the rest of them. There's just a lot of things about this movie I didn't like. Like back on like the point of being like overly sexual, I remember there being a scene that I saw and I was like, what are we even doing right now? And it's a scene where Ethan is like laying in that bathtub with the female, his female co-star, and there's a shot over the shoulder showing Ethan, but you can also very clearly see the woman's boobs in the shot. I'm like, what are we even doing right now? It doesn't need to be shot that way. And there's also the point where Anthony Hopkins is in this movie, and he says to Ethan, "It's not Mission difficult; it's Mission Impossible." That was almost a moment where I almost turned it off right then and there. I gave it a few more minutes, but I really couldn't do it much after that. Most people can agree that this is the worst one, and I definitely agree it's definitely the worst one. Maybe I'll revisit it one of these days, but as of right now, I'm never watching this movie again. And in second to last place, I have the original Mission Impossible. This one is also just a little bit dated, even though it is significantly better than the second one still. But it's given us so many iconic things, and one of the most parodied things in like cinema history is him coming down on that wire, and the iconic music was all born from this movie alone. And introduced us to this entire world with like the masks and the tech and everything with Ethan Hunt. So it still definitely deserves its flowers, but it's also just crazy to think that this film franchise now has spanned 8 films, and the first 2 are somehow the worst out of all of them. Like, I don't think there's any other film franchises that has spanned this many films that just keeps getting better and better and better rather than getting worse as time goes on. Moving right along in the ranking, at third to last, at the 6th spot, I have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This movie starts with an absolute like Shaggy and Scooby sized exposition sandwich. It just is throwing you nostalgia, clips, old stuff just for the first like 5 minutes, it feels like, of the film. And there's so many flashbacks and so many things where it just almost feels like the story can't really stand on its own. And a lot of people are saying it takes a while for this movie to get going. Like the first hour is like what I just said, just exposition, nostalgia, stuff like that. But when this movie gets cooking, it has some of the best moments in the entire franchise. A lot of people are comparing it to Avengers Endgame, and I do agree with that. It's a very long movie with some like overly expositional moments, overly nostalgia moments, but still has some of the best moments in the entire franchise, some of the best cinema experiences you'll ever see. We'll get more into it when we talk about the stunts in these movies, but it's just insane that this movie is as epic as it is, but still towards the bottom half of the ranking, at least in my opinion. One more note, Madam President Angela Bassett. Hell yeah, dude, that was awesome. And at the next spot, I have the movie that came just before Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Now, I can talk all day about the amazing moments in these movies and the stunts, and I'm saying Mission Impossible: Dead and Final Reckoning are lower on my list, but they're still 8 out of 10s in my opinion. But the main reason why I have these two lower is because I simply feel like these movies deserve to have Rebecca Ferguson in it longer and have her be a part of the finale. Essentially replacing her with Haley Atwell's Grace is just it just didn't work for me, and is really the main reason why these movies are so low on this list for me. When you try to rank this entire franchise, it's going to come down to the little things that are the difference for these movies for most people, especially for me. And you'll come to find out as this video goes on that Rebecca Ferguson is one of my favorite aspects of this entire franchise, and she deserved to be in the finale, in that final movie, in Haley Atwell's place. But even despite all that, like obviously the bike stunt is one of the best in the franchise. the whole final sequence on that train. Like, this movie is still absolutely epic, no doubt about it. We are now into the top half of this ranking. At the number 4 spot, I have Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Now, this one, like, it's so hard to rank this franchise because Ghost Protocol is still so good, and it really pains me to put it at 4. But the other 3 I'm going to talk about, I just absolutely adore and absolutely love so much. Like, the entire sequence of events that happened at the biggest tower in the world, where it was Ethan Hunt climbing the tower, the fight scenes in it, the whole scheming and plot that they had. And since they're in Ghost Protocol, they had to operate everything without like the top-notch technology. Like, everything about that was just absolutely top-notch. Not to mention that this movie was directed by Brad freaking Bird, the guy who made The Incredibles, Ratatouille, and The Iron Giant. That's just simply not fair. You can't be that good at making movies that you can make some of the best anime films ever and an incredible action film. It's simply not fair. And another thing that I love about this movie is the twists with Jeremy Renner's character. There's the initial twist of him being the guy who's supposed to look after Ethan and his wife when his wife was allegedly unalived. But then it's twisted back on its head at the end of the movie to reveal that Ethan knew about all this and that Julia's still alive, to Jeremy Renner's character's surprise. Like, those reveals are just so awesome, and is another reason why I love this film. And we are now getting into the top 3, and at the 3rd spot, I have Mission Impossible 3. Now, in regards to stunts, this one definitely is on the lower side for that, but in regards of the characters and the story, I think this is just top-notch compared to the rest of the franchise. The introduction of the character of Julia and Ethan's absolute love for her and his just unwavering motivation to save her was all so great throughout this entire film. And you can't talk about this film without talking about Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain, as Davian in this film. Absolutely off the charts as this villain in this movie. And it's the movie that introduces us to Benji, one of my favorite characters of the franchise, and I'm sure most of you also love the character of Benji. So this one absolutely bangs. I absolutely love this one. Now, as we approach the top 2, a lot of people are going to have their kind of consensus number 1, and I think both these films are 10 out of 10, but at the number 2 spot, I have Fallout. Now, this definitely is like the consensus number 1 pick for most people for the best Mission Impossible movie, and I think I would still agree it's the best, but it's just simply not my favorite, and we'll get into my favorite here in a second. But damn it, if Fallout is not incredible. It's got so many great moments. Henry Cavill as the twist villain is just so good in this movie. His best performance of his career by far. And it's got a lot of great mask reveal moments, some of the best in the entire franchise. It has the return of Julia's character at the end, and it has one of the most high tension sequences at the end of the movie. Like, it's just an epic film from start to finish, no doubt. But at the number 1 spot, I have Rogue Nation. It may not be the best, but it's certainly my favorite. And I believe that like the first like hour 20 minutes of this film is one of the best sequences, maybe the best 80-minute stretch of the entire franchise. It comes out swinging with the plane stunt of Tom Cruise holding onto the plane, and then he hits the parachute deploying the package that they got, all leading into the title sequence. And then that leads to the Syndicate twist where he was getting the message, but it's from the Syndicate. And then he does his pole stunt where he lifts himself over the pole with those handcuffs, that fight scene with Rebecca Ferguson as well. And then that all goes into the opera sequence and the underwater heist sequence. Not to mention the introduction of Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson in this movie. There's just so much great with this movie that I simply can't not make it my number 1 pick. So that makes my full ranking from the top to the bottom: Rogue, Fallout, 3, Ghost, Dead Reckoning, Final Reckoning, 1 and 2. Now that we got the movies out of the way, let's move on to my favorite villains of the Mission Impossible franchise. Now, granted, this is a short list. This is just the top 3. And among some of the best villains in the franchise, there are also a lot of forgettable ones, but there are 3 that really stand out to me. At the 3rd spot, I have Solomon Lane. He's one of the only villains that we get to see in more than one movie other than Gabriel, which you won't see on this list. I just really don't like that character that much. But this character was intimidating. This character was badass. And it's one of those just evil characters that really has no redeeming qualities. And I love that his story continued from Rogue into Fallout. And the fact that those 2 are my favorite movies, like, he's obviously got to be on this list. And there's no villain conversation for the Mission Impossible movies without talking about probably the best twist villain, Henry Cavill's character as Walker. Now, like I just said, it's the best performance of his career for sure. And it's got the iconic, arm loading scene and one of the best action sequences in the entire franchise with that bathroom fight. And then his reveal as the villain is so good. He plays such a good villain, and there's such a great, final battle between him and Ethan at the end of the movie. So he's definitely one of the best villains of the franchise. And to the surprise of no one, obviously, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Davian is the best villain of the Mission Impossible franchise. Another character that is just straight up evil with no redeeming qualities and is not afraid to pull the trigger, to do what he needs to do, to hurt the people that, Ethan loves, to get what he wants out of it. And the final battle between him and Ethan is so good. It's so just rugged and brutal. And the whole countdown opening scene just really sets the tone for the rest of the movie, showing that this is just an evil guy. There's no better villain performance in the Mission Impossible franchise. It's obviously Philip Seymour Hoffman. And from the bad guys, let's now just move on to the good guys. So for this ranking, it's basically just me, any of the good guys that isn't named Ethan Hunt. And of course, we got the only other guy who's been in every single Mission Impossible movie other than Tom Cruise. Ving Rhames is Luther. This character is obviously iconic. It was tough to see him go on Final Reckoning, but I feel like he really served his purpose and had a really great finish to his story. And his friendship with Ethan is very apparent and grows as the franchise grows as well. So he's definitely got to be on this list. Up next, I got my GOAT, Benji. There's a reason why the franchise really kicked up after Mission Impossible 3, because that's the one that introduced Simon Pegg as Benji. It could just be my bias of loving Simon Pegg as an actor overall, but I just really adore the character of Benji. And at times he's almost like the audience. He has his sarcastic quips about talking about Ethan Hunt and the crazy stuff that they're doing. So I love his character. Obviously, he's going to be on this list. Now, starting out the top 3, I got Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Even though her time was short, and she definitely should have been with us longer and definitely should have been in the last movie, she still was badass and awesome anytime she was on screen. Now, at the number 2 spot, I got Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust in Mission Impossible Fallout. Again, captivating, badass, every single second she's on screen. No doubt that she's one of the best characters in the franchise. And at the number 1 spot, I got Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. If you couldn't tell already, obviously Ilsa Faust is my favorite character. Every single time she's on screen, every single movie she's in, she makes it better. Which is why she should have been in Final Reckoning, shouldn't have died in Dead Reckoning, and shouldn't have been replaced with Hillary Atwell, but that's a conversation for a different time. I can fully understand that in hindsight, Rebecca Ferguson probably didn't want to play this character for 6 films. I can also fully understand that she's now a part of the Dune franchise, probably a very stressing and very big commitment that she has to make to be in these movies, and also has other commitments and other projects that she wants to work on. But if Ving Rhames can be in every single Mission Impossible movie, and Benji can be in all of them but 2, why can't she be in 5 of them? She deserved to be in Final Reckoning. She deserved to be with Ethan at the end of Final Reckoning, and Haley Atwell's character was just such a bad replacement, such a shoehorn replacement for that character, and I just really didn't like that, and that's why, another reason, like I just said, why the Reckoning films are lower on my ranking. I think that's enough time on my soapbox talking about Ilsa Faust. So now let's move on to the best mask reveal moments. Obviously, the mask reveals are so iconic and some of the best things about the Mission Impossible franchise. So here are my 5 favorite from the entire franchise. I couldn't find a good photo of this one, but for this one, I'm just going to talk about the very first time we saw the mask reveal in the first Mission Impossible. Right after the interrogation scene that opens up the movie, we see Ethan Hunt walk out and reveal that it's him under this mask. It's the one that sets the tone for the entire franchise. And not only does it do that, but the effects are still so good for 1996. I don't know how they did those mask reveals so well in that movie, but damn it if they didn't look good for them being almost 30 years old. Next up on this mask reveal ranking, I have this moment from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. This whole sequence was really just shot to perfection, really. And the whole sequence is just so perfect and ends so perfectly with the smoke bomb going off, and then with Ethan taking off the mask, revealing that it's him under the mask with the music blaring in the background. It's easily one of the best mask reveals of the franchise. Moving on to the top 3 Mission Impossible mask reveals, I have the Wolf Blitzer reveal from Mission Impossible Fallout. That whole scene is just so beautifully put together, leading to such an awesome twist. I don't know how many of you may have gone into this movie for the first time expecting this twist to happen, where Benji happened to be Wolf Blitzer and they were shooting the news literally next door. That is just a masterclass in filmmaking and a great twist overall. Just so incredible. But at the number 2 spot, I have the Ethan Hunt mask reveal from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This is another one where the music definitely does some favors with the music just blaring in the background as he takes off the mask. But it's also set up beautifully with the monologue by Alec Baldwin, calling Ethan the manifestation of destiny, all those bars that he was just dropping, leading to this incredible reveal. But obviously the best mask reveal, at least in my opinion, is the double cross moment from Mission Impossible Fallout. This whole scene, just again, perfection. There's so many incredible mask reveals in this franchise, and they're all done so very well. But this one has to be the best one. Another incredible double cross, also from Fallout, also from the same movie that I just mentioned with the Wolf Blitzer reveal. And when Henry Cavill's character goes, just a bunch of grown men wearing, and we all make the realization at the same time, all while revealing that Walker is secretly the twist villain in this movie. Just, again, masterful. Love this scene so much. Now, we've ranked the movies, we've ranked characters, we've ranked villains, we've ranked master reveals. Now let's rank the best action sequences from Mission Impossible. Now, this ranking is not limited to just like the crazy stunts that Tom Cruise does in these movies. If it's an action sequence, if it's a fight sequence, if it's just something crazy that Tom Cruise happened to do while the camera was rolling, that is fair game for this list. I do have some honorable mentions to mention, including this one from the first Mission Impossible. Like I said, parody to high heaven, but also very tense and actually lives up to the hype when you watch it for the first time. Another honorable mention is this fight scene from Rogue Nation. Not only does it have probably Tom Cruise's most underrated stunt where he pulls himself over a pole, but it's got some great fight choreography too and introduces us to the Queen Ilsa Faust in that scene too. The whole opera sequence from Rogue Nation is also an honorable mention. And the whole climbing sequence from Ghost Protocol is also an honorable mention. I know a lot of you are saying that it's one of the best. It is incredible, but Mission Impossible franchise has so many incredible moments that this had to be an honorable mention, unfortunately. Starting on my top 5, I have the bike jump scene from Dead Reckoning. Now, it is absolutely no doubt one of the best stunts you'll ever see. And one of the best things about the Mission Impossible franchise, at least the later ones, is that they really hold on the stunts. They don't edit away to hide the fact that they're hiding something or using CG. Like, they hold on this scene so much, and it's so incredible and so powerful. And as the number 4 spot, I have this scene, the literal opening scene from Rogue Nation. I remember when I was rewatching Rogue Nation in the past week, and I forgot that they literally come out absolutely swinging with this scene right out the gate. And again, it's another example of them just holding on the stunt. They really hold on these whole scenes. Like when the plane takes off, you really get to feel the gravity of of him really rising up, the ground getting like further and further and further away. And it's just capitalized with that awesome like parachute moment where he just shoots out the back of the plane. Like it's just like a perfect opening scene, probably the best of the franchise. Now, with the number 3 spot, I have the best fight sequence from the entire franchise, the bathroom fight sequence from Fallout. There's not a whole lot of competition for fight scenes other than like the fight scene from Rogue Nation, but this one is easily the best and one of the best fight sequences you'll ever watch. Not to mention it's got this moment in it too. Now, for the top spot, I actually have a two-way tie for the top stunts, top action moments from the entire franchise. And I just have to give credit where credit is due with this whole sequence from the submarine from Final Reckoning and this whole sequence on the planes in Final Reckoning. Let's talk about this one first. I was absolutely floored watching this in theaters. Like, one of the best parts about this is that it's just this for like 5 straight minutes. They're not cutting to other storylines. They're not cutting to Haley Atwell's character doing whatever. They're not cutting to Benji doing whatever. It's just this for like, again, like 5 straight minutes. And another one thing that's so great is that everything feels practical. I'm sure there are some CG elements to it. There are probably some CG missiles or whatever, but so much about this set and this whole scene felt practical, and it was another reason why it's so good and one of the best ever. Now, obviously, Tom Cruise had to go all for his last stunt ever as Ethan Hunt, and man, did he. A stunt so crazy that he essentially passed out on the wing of a freaking moving plane. It's another one that really is just another long sequence. It does cut between some very high tension moments of them trying to like defuse the bomb and also trying to capture the entity and all that. And that all ties together very, very well, but this is still the standalone moment from the movie and from the entire franchise. So there you have it. There's my entire Yap session. Talk about everything Mission Impossible, a franchise that I now absolutely, absolutely adore. I'm going to miss this franchise. I'm going to miss Ethan Hunt, but it really has come to a great conclusion. And no matter how much I wish Rebecca Ferguson was in the last 2 movies more, I still adore them, and I still adore this franchise no end. Let me know what you guys think about these rankings in the comments. Let me know what your rankings are of the movies, the characters, the stunts, the mask reveals, all of that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And what other stuff do you want to see from me in the future, whether it's Mission Impossible related or any art stuff, make sure to keep an eye out for some Ethan Hunt drawings, and have a great day.